What do you think happens if you fight Floyd Mayweather?
I would knock him out.
Bro.
100%.
Don't be ridiculous.
You think because you lost a fight to Floyd Mayweather that you're better than me at boxing?
You said I won the fight.
In person, when I was watching it, I thought so. Watching it back, it's like, okay, I've had like a biased point of view, like sitting there in person.
This is the first time I've heard you say that.
Yeah, but because we never talked about it.
Switching up like that?
Yeah, I think WWE is good for Logan and
Jake Paul, maybe?
easy. Too easy.
It's too easy.
Too easy. At 48, too easy.
It's over. It's over.
Hey, my boxing knowledge.
Some people believe in fairy tales. Whoever believed that Jake Paul was gonna win, that was an absolute fairy tale. I've got a friend in a group message that said, I just put $20 on Jake Paul to win. I was like, bro, you just wasted your money. There was never a world in which Jake Paul was going to beat Anthony Joshua. It was always a matter of how the fight would end.
Versus Jake Paul fight, I got $50,000 on Anthony Joshua winning. I'm only gonna win $5,500 for the bet because he's such a favorite.
Frustrating 2-3 rounds maybe because Jake was moving so much, holding, but did well, I thought. I mean, I was impressed with him. I mean, I was more impressed with his toughness because I think that last shot would have knocked out most heavyweights. I mean, I know
he broke his jaw.
Yeah, I know it knocked him out,
Knocked
but he
his
was
teeth
not
out.
unconscious.
This is what I decided to do. While some of my friends decided to do a little bit of hustling, some of my friends decided to go down the college route. I decided to go down the school of boxing.
Boxing, there's a time when you systematically break someone down and you see their soul leaving their body. And after a period of time, two things start to happen to them. Either they give up or they get knocked out.
But I'm telling you, man, Jake Paul, like I said, man, y'all ain't giving him enough credit.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think he deserves all the
I
credit.
already know the comments, they're not going to give him enough credit.
Who is it?
I already see the comments, they're not going to give him enough credit.
I thought Joshua did what he had to do.
Right.
It took him a while to get it, but he had to break him down and chase him down and unleash his powerful shot.
What was it? Was it a little too long to get done, or?
Yeah, listen, when you fight someone like that, that moves around a lot, then you have to try and pick your moments, pick your shots.
Yeah.
That's what he did, so congratulations to Joshua.
You know, the fact that he did that, it was good because you know we didn't think it was going to go 6 rounds. We thought it was going to go 2. So the fact that he made 6 rounds is an accomplishment for Jake Paul.
Fight. Yeah. Good fight. Listen, respect to Jake. You know, he was a tough guy in there. Obviously, he moved a lot and made it difficult for AJ. And AJ's been out of the ring for a while. He's a bit rusty. It took him time to just get hold of him, but I was impressed with Jake. And listen, as I said to Nikisa, at the end of the day, he took shots that a lot of people would have got knocked out, clean out by, especially at the end, you know? So, yeah.
Anthony Joshua brutally stopped Jake Paul, and anyone pretending otherwise was simply refusing to accept reality. What unfolded that night didn't just end a fight. It reshaped reputations, shattered long-built illusions, and forced the boxing world to question its own narratives all over again, as the gap between proven championship pedigree and viral hype was exposed in the most undeniable way possible.
Paul's getting in the ring with that guy, dude. Joshua's a monster. He stayed in it the whole time, and I'm really proud of Jake, dude. All my respect to him, bro. Whatever outcome. I mean, dude, he went 6.5 rounds with Anthony Joshua, one of the best in the world, so I got nothing.
If someone's moving like that, like, it's going to take you a while to get hold of them, and when they're rugby tackling you, but he had to do what he had to do to survive. And he did that. So, you know, it's very difficult to go in like, you know, out the ring for 14 months and just be razor sharp with a guy running. And so, yeah, probably 2 or 3 rounds more than expected. But fair play to Jake Paul. He was a lot tougher than I thought, and he took a lot more shots than I thought he could.
To so many people, bro. The overhand right. Jake's got a tough chin, dude. I think he does whatever he wants after this. He just has such big balls, dude. He had to keep moving. That was the only strategy. People are gonna say he ran around the ring. They don't know. They don't understand fucking boxing.
And you got to realize, you know, Jake Paul had his hands down.
Yeah.
He was basically waiting for that knock.
The fight of a lifetime is officially over, and the professionals across the boxing world are already reacting. But this was far more than just a victory. It felt like a slow-burning execution that forced everyone watching to confront the uncomfortable truth about hype colliding with true heavyweight reality. And in just 60 seconds, there was one defining moment when everything shifted permanently and the entire narrative flipped for good.
So proud of him. That was incredible. In my view, that was a victory on all fronts. Right. Like, minus the actual victory, of course, but bro, like, no one expected him to the last 6 rounds with AJ. In my opinion, he won 4 of them. People will argue that he at least won 3.
Look on that right hand. Put that meat on that right hand. Instructions, you know when I fought Helene? Oh my god! What the fuck? I've never seen you out of the gym. I know, right? What are you doing?
Yeah, you got to take your hat off to Jake Paul for surviving as long as he did. He made it tough for AJ. But AJ said that right hand found his home, bro. Right. You talk about a 2-time heavyweight champion, Olympian. You know, it was just a matter of time. But for Jake to last that long and survive, you got to take your hat off to him.
Wow, I think the Jake doing an amazing job, you know, and the big responsibility is for Joshua, not for Jake, you know. But the people need to respect Jake, you know, and imagining Jake little big and having more time to training for this fight. You know, I think Jake improved a lot. The people need to respect him. I don't say that only because I'm fight here in a company, but it's because Jake, the people need to respect Jake, you know.
Before the first bell even rang, Paulie Malignaggi sounded the alarm and laid out a blueprint that wasn't about dominance but pure survival, because he understood that Jake Paul's only possible path was chaos, fast hands, reckless pressure, and the hope that something wild landed before the walls inevitably closed in. And once you understand the reality of that matchup, it becomes clear why that advice was never truly possible to follow.
Jake to fight the way he fought.
Right.
You know, trying to stay away. You don't know if he's how long that's gonna last. You know, Joshua has something to say about that. So you don't know, but I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised. Right. Tough, man, and that's what I try to tell people when they try to completely discredit him. You know, Jake Paul is not the face of boxing, and yes, that's disrespectful to the guys that been doing it from the crib. But you can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater, bro. Like, he's been training and he knows enough in that ring to be able to, you know, protect himself. And he's a tough kid.
So, you know, it was a awkward night. You know, AJ couldn't get to grips with him. Obviously, Jake had a pretty good game plan, moving his feet, lateral movement, slipping and sliding. Obviously, been practicing that a lot in sparring. And you got to give him credit. He came out there and gave it a good go. Took his licks like a man, didn't complain. You know, fighting a much bigger, more established, world-class fighter. So that's usually what happened. What was always going to happen. You know, a lot of people thought it would only last 1 round, 2 rounds, but you know, you got to give Jake credit. You know, he went out there and had a solid game plan and was implementing it at times. Was landing shots and was avoiding getting hit with the big shots.
Jake Paul really had only one option, and it required brutal honesty in the pocket. Plant his feet, absorb the fire, and throw back with everything he had, because history suggests that Anthony Joshua only truly shows vulnerability when an opponent dares to meet him head-on. Yet as this moment unfolded, it became clear that Jake Paul never fully crossed that irreversible point of no return. And coming up, I'll explain exactly why he hesitated when committing completely was the only path left.
Fight was, Jake looked awful. Anthony Joshua looked awful. Anthony Joshua looked like he
couldn't cut off the ring. Like, he just let Jake just merry-go-round the whole first 3-4 rounds. I mean, I give it to you, champ. Ring rust, okay. Ring rust, that's fine. You ain't fought in a minute. He's a little annoying kid that's trying to just run. So can't really blame Joshua for that. And at the end of the day, he did land that right hand. He put it right where it was supposed to be. Broke that boy jaw, sent him home. Got the job done.
He feels, disappointed that he lost. But as I said to him, he should be very proud in what he won. And what he won was showing the world that he's a capable boxer who hung in there with a Olympic gold medalist, 2-time world champion, who's actually been recovering and being fresh for over 14 months. People are like, oh, he's rusty, he's been out of the ring. It's actually the opposite. He took a break. He let his body recuperate, right? And he was preparing for a fight in November.
Inside Jake Paul's camp, what existed wasn't confidence but raw defiance, with his father Jake Paul Sr. openly acknowledging that Anthony Joshua was a monster while still clinging to the belief that sheer resilience could somehow flip the script. And what you're about to hear makes it clear why this fight was never meant to be pretty or inspiring, only brutally revealing.
If we're going to go with how Jake Paul would accomplish this, my personal feeling is he would have to kind of kamikaze it, where he's either going to come out, he's got to probably come out fast and try to shoot some big shots, maybe, try to set a trap with a jab downstairs, big right hand upstairs, I don't know, something like that, because AJ's a big guy and, he's something.
Think of this like a business lesson. No circus, no ego, no shortcuts, just relentless discipline and repetition, because for Anthony Joshua, this was never about magic or spectacle. It was about proving that structure and preparation still overpower raw ambition when the pressure hits its peak.
No matter what trap he says, it's got to be a simple trap, because Jake's boxing isn't that high level yet. He'd have to start fast and throw hard. And again, it would have to be, the reason I say it would have to be sort of kamikaze-ish is because he's got to land the big shot. He's got to take a big chance and land the big shot. In order to do that, he's got to be able to hold his ground and fire. Now, what I've noticed when AJ gets caught in his times that he's been hurt as a professional fighter is he's been hurt when guys throw with him. You gotta be able to throw power with him as he's throwing. So that takes a certain amount of guts, because obviously when he's throwing the power at you, it could hit you and you could go, right? And Jake is smaller than AJ. At this point, this is not a typical Jake opponent where they're a bit smaller. The deck is not stacked against AJ. AJ's actually probably stacking the deck over Jake. The only thing AJ really has to do is make 245 pounds. He has to make that weight, which I think he probably makes it, maybe a little struggle, but not that much. You punch with AJ, what happens? You may be able to catch him. Guys like Dillian White have caught AJ and rocked him badly when they fought each other. So you punch with AJ, you may be able to catch him. But the thing about Jake is he capable of punching with you? Anytime I've seen the opposing fighter attack Jake with any kind of offense.
Whenever Jake Paul relied on speed or ran the ring at full pace, Anthony Joshua responded with patience, calculated pressure, and psychological tactics, and it became clear that the mental collapse happened long before the final knockout, showing that the fight was being won in the mind just as much as in the body.
Good looking, he's got it all going on.
Yeah.
But I think he's gonna get a rude awakening after Friday. I think Jake's gonna upset the boxing world like he usually does. I think he's gonna drop him with a couple body shots and then probably follow it up with something to the chin.
He even said he hoped the fight would go 5 or 6 rounds. The evolution was undeniable, and pretending otherwise is dishonest. Jake Paul today is sharper, calmer, more defensively aware, and technically smarter than he was years ago. And in just a moment, I'll tell you the one improvement that surprised even veteran analysts.
It goes a little bit longer so people can see that Jake can fight, and no matter what happens, here's what's when Jake wins, people are going to say it's fixed no matter what because they're a bunch of fucking losers.
Yeah.
And if Jake goes 5-6 rounds, then drops him, it's going to be hard for the keyboard warriors to say that it was fixed and all this other bullshit that they always say. So I still think he's going to pepper him with body shots, break him down that way, and soften his body up and open up the chin.
And then set him up. So you think Anthony Joshua, his chin is not as durable as it once was?
I don't think so. I think once you get knocked out a couple times, your body learns to instinctively go, fuck, I felt this before, it wasn't good, so I'm going to put myself to rest
in the form of
Jake Paul even admitted that he hoped the fight would last 5 or 6 rounds, and the evolution in his game was undeniable, because today he is sharper, calmer, more defensively aware, and technically smarter than he was years ago. And in just a moment, I'll highlight the single improvement that managed to surprise even the most seasoned boxing analysts.
There was 2 things that could have happened in the fight. Jake would have either come full steam ahead 100 mile an hour, or Jake would have moved around the ring at 100 mile an hour. There's 2 things I would have done. Tried to shut Jake down at 100 mile an hour, or I would have gone on the back foot. So Jake decided to move around the ring, and I decided to put the pressure on. What I could have done better is a lot of things. 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that have graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron is, fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you is that, Jake, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna see a time when I'm gonna take your soul and you're either gonna give up or you're gonna get knocked.
Anthony Joshua was a risk bordering on insanity, and that very audacity pushed the sport forward, because bold moves have a way of forcing boxing into the uncomfortable conversations it usually tries to avoid. Before the opening bell, Chris Algieri warned that a single clean punch from Anthony Joshua could erase years of hard-earned progress in mere seconds, and that is the cruel reality of boxing. One night, one moment, can redefine everything, and it becomes clear why this warning still holds weight even after the final bell.
Yeah, I mean, I would say footwork, defense, having the experience on the fight night, staying calm, jab, combinations, body work, countering, feints, like just a lot of stuff.
From Anthony Joshua's side, the stakes were brutal, because if the fight dragged on or if Jake Paul appeared competitive, doubt would creep in quickly, and a durable Jake Paul was never supposed to be part of this equation, and that alone made the matchup extremely dangerous for Joshua's legacy, as I'll explain in detail.
A long time ago, I think he was, look, people have been asking him to fight somebody, so he said, all right, I'll fight AJ. And a lot of people wouldn't sign up for that.
Then Timothy Bradley broke ranks and openly backed Jake Paul, highlighting past cracks in Anthony Joshua's record and questioning the true motives behind the fight. Payday versus purpose. And even though the final result went the other way, Bradley's reasoning revealed the very fault line that this fight ultimately exposed.
Anthony, in a real fight, I don't care if he gets knocked out with the very first punch. He's got big balls. Good for you. I appreciate anyone who steps in the ring. I appreciate someone who steps in a real fight like that, and a dangerous one. So there's that. But on the flip coin, your health is in danger. This is boxing, guys. People get really hurt. Life-changing. One fight, one punch can change your life. So that's why I'm very hesitant to think that this, how can this really happen? Because Anthony is a really dangerous guy. I think he was just hedged who he fought, just like anyone when they're coming up in their career. You're trying to pick guys that you can win and look good against and move on and learn.
Amir Khan saw none of the optimism and dismissed it completely, insisting that anything less than total dominance would be failure, while warning that the physical mismatch made this fight a career-threatening gamble, and moments from now, I'll explain exactly why that fear was far from exaggerated.
If it goes more than a round, what does that do to AJ? Does it even matter?
Yeah, it matters.
It matters?
Big time.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. AJ has a lot to lose. If this goes rounds, if Jake is competitive, if Jake stumbles him, if Jake makes this a fight, Joshua his credibility goes out the window.
Who doesn't make it to the ring?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just the fact that I can't even picture these two in the ring together. It's insane. Listen, Jake is not dumb, and he can't really think that he can compete with this guy. And unless there's some stipulation that we're not hearing about, which I'm not a guy who thinks that Jake's fights are rigged. I really don't think that. I think that all.
This was never just a fight. It was business clashing with belief, power colliding with ambition, and discipline confronting audacity. And while Anthony Joshua demonstrated why true giants dominate the sport, Jake Paul proved something almost as dangerous, that he belongs in conversations that many would desperately prefer to end. Andrew Tate injected chaos as expected, acknowledging Anthony Joshua's clear advantage while reminding everyone that boxing requires just one perfect second to rewrite history, And that single observation explains why millions of viewers couldn't look away, no matter how obvious the odds seemed.
Watch Joshua's last fight against Dubois. I'm getting cold feet on this. I ain't gonna lie. I'm getting so much cold feet on this that I said I'd never do it, but you know what I'm saying? I may just yeah. I'm about to put 5 stacks on Jake Paul. Yeah, 5.
The chapter may be closed, but the arguments are only just beginning, and if you think this story ends here, stay right where you are, because what this fight revealed has the potential to reshape the next era of boxing in ways that no one is truly ready for yet.
To not to be tarnished, he has to win this fight or knock him out and knock him out. I think he has to knock him out because he's a fighter, he's a real boxer, and look at the size difference. Look at the muscles he has. I mean, his biceps are the size of his head, Jake Paul's head. So I mean, if you stand the two together, I mean, even a blind man knows who's going to win that fight. You know what I'm saying?
Boxing match. Everyone has a chance in a boxing match. And that's why boxing's the most watched sport in the world, because it only takes one punch to change everything. So the possibility of the timeline where Jake Paul wins is a very interesting one for the entire world, and that's why.
It's hard to say whether it's sheer courage or a kind of deluded confidence. And I mean that as a bit of a compliment, because he genuinely believes he can win this fight. As a boxer, you have to be a little deluded. You have to be able to convince yourself constantly that you're not injured, that you'll make weight, that you're fit, unafraid, not nervous, and not tired. Boxers lie to themselves all the time, but there's a difference between that and completely hypnotizing yourself into believing you can beat Anthony Joshua.
Is it balls or is it deludedness, which he has? And I mean that as a bit of a compliment. He is that deluded. He genuinely thinks he can win this fight.
You've got to be a bit, haven't you? There's a boxer, a little bit, haven't you, though?
You have to be. You've got to be deluded and you've got to be able to lie to yourself well as a boxer. I'm not injured. I'm going to make weight. I'm okay. I'm fit. I'm not scared. I'm not nervous. I'm not tired. You've got to lie to yourself all the time as a boxer. But there's lying to yourself and there's absolutely hypnotising yourself into believing that you can beat Anthony Joshua, a 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, unified and Olympic gold medalist.